We're basically trying to say, is it reasonable to have a civil rights case or investigation based solely on race? And the answer to that, I think, is no. But I agree completely with your point, Charles, that there's actually a lot more evidence other than just this particular statistic that warrants looking into this, particularly given the buildup of the militarization of that police force over the past decade.
If you go to the Civil Rights Division and say all of these people running around in uniforms are white, that's not really good enough.
Yeah.
But if you go around and say these people running around in uniforms pistol whipped me and abducted my son, that is good enough.
All right, let's talk about that.
Or they stopped my son on the street multiple times because he was
Is this a fair representation, though, of what's actually happening in the Ferguson Police Department, which is the question?
Is it accurate?
That's the question.
And how different? You talked about the militarization of the department. How different does it make it from other departments across the nation? In other words, does it stand out? Is it an outlier in a negative way? And are they accurate? So let's talk about what some of these stories are. This is from the Washington Post. These are other lawsuits regarding the Ferguson, Missouri Police Department. Officers have been sued, as well as more than half a dozen internal investigations have been launched, including claims that individual officers separately hog-tied a 12-year-old boy who was checking the family mailbox, pistol-whipped children, and used a stun gun on a mentally ill man who died as a result. There's just some examples that Holder and many are pointing to that suggest things are awry in Ferguson.
Well, let's be clear, though. What time period were these things over?
I don't have the date.
No, I don't think it was. I don't think they gave us the date. By the way, I think on purpose. How were you looking at? 5 years, 10 years? You look at a few incidents of police misconduct, which, by the way, I would assume each one of those incidences are probably making their way or have made their way through the courts in some capacity. The question becomes: is this systemic bias? Well, if you add up the number of police stops, police interrogations, police arrests in Ferguson, and you look at what percentage these things represent, then you have to get into the question of: is this an issue of the system of widespread police abuse, or is this a few mistakes made by people who are imperfect or in difficult situations, should be held accountable for those? But what does the Department of Justice have to do with this?
Were these police officers actually charged with doing this, or was this just an allegation? Because, as we know, a lot of times, I know this because I deal with Border Patrol, and you're down on the border, there's a lot of false allegations, and sometimes what they'll actually have to do is pull out video feed that's on the border to actually prove their innocence. A Border Patrol agent will say, well, no, I didn't beat this person up. They were running in the dark, and they ran into a bush, and they fell into a cactus, and I caught them, and I put them, and I handcuffed them, and then they'll get the documentation out, and I'll see the files of how many times they're actually accused of police misconduct.